I said, the rest state. I ain't stay for 2 for 3. Okay then. What's up, guys? Jar here back with another video. Basically, I'm gonna be breaking down how my brand makes $10,000 a day with ads. And yeah, let's get straight to it. Now, clarify, this is Q4, so obviously the revenue spiked a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So, but this is yesterday, as you can see, 9K. This is my brand, Angelic. Boom, boom, boom. All right, let's get straight to it. Get straight to it. All right. Now, the first thing is that you need to have a balance of product and marketing. And a common misconception people have is that I need to find a quote unquote winning product. Now, while yes, you do need to find a good product that works, right? You have to really, break it down from a consumer's perspective in the sense of, a product can only do so much, right? Like obviously having a good product versus a bad product, it's gonna be harder to market a bad product. You know what I mean? Like if you have an iPhone 4, right now, and you're trying to market that in 2025, like you're just not gonna get any sales because the iPhone 17 is just superior in every way. You know what I mean? It has bigger battery life, better camera, faster, pretty much every way, right? It looks better, and yeah, so having a superior product is gonna be better, but people get caught up on this idea, kind of like this drop shipping mentality in the sense of, oh, once I find this winning product, then I can scale and make millions of dollars with my clothing brand, and that's just not the truth. You know what I mean? Because if you have that mindset, then you're just gonna keep dropping shit without even having like confidence or actually pushing like a bunch of like actual marketing effort behind that product to actually make it work, and you're just gonna be in this never-ending cycle. You know what I mean? So there's this water company called Liquid Death, and they're a $1 billion water company, and they sell water, but they made $333 million in revenue in just 2024 alone, and that was just selling water, right? Bottled water. And the reason why they were able to make this amount of money is because they have positioned their product in a way that it appeals to a certain type of demographic, right? So they're just putting a spin on what has been sold for centuries, you know what I mean? Fucking water, right? And there's nothing revolutionary about the product, right? It's just water. They just put their own marketing spin on it. And yeah, they were able to do $333 million in 2024. Like, that's a lot of fucking money if you think about that shit. That's like over $1 million a day. All right, so close to $1 million a day. Yeah, just selling water. And this new brand, relatively new, Comfort, they actually started like when I started back in 2023, I believe, or 2022. And they did, I was watching one of the podcasts, they did like $50 million in a month. And I believe that was back in like July or some shit, in the summer, selling like hoodies. You know what I'm saying? So that shit is crazy. But basically, they're projecting to hit $700 million annually, right? So that's almost $2 million a day, right? And they're just selling hoodies, and they pretty much kind of ripped Essentials, Fear of God, if you guys know what that is. But essentially, it's just regular hoodies. There's nothing crazy about the product. You know what I mean? It's not even a high quality fabric or nothing. They just have so much content going behind the product that it just scaled to the moon, right? They really capitalize on TikTok Shop and that distribution channel, and yeah, they're doing crazy numbers now. So it's not really all a part of the marketing. Like it's more of like a 50-50, right? And you can argue it can be like 30-70 or 40-60, whatever, but like your marketing is really going to be what drives you to get those numbers that you want. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you need to learn how to market and distribute your product. And this is just a small example from my brand. This is like one of our products, and these just recently came a bestseller, and they only started recently selling so well is because I actually started creating content and ads behind it. Before, I just kind of dropped it and then let it sit on the site, but now I'm actually creating content behind it, and this is like within a short time period, as you can see here, and 22K, nothing crazy, but this is off of essentially a dead product, right? And I had high confidence of this product when I was gonna drop it, and it did relatively well when I dropped it. But ever since I started promoting it, you know what I mean, like a year or so later, then it started pumping, right? Obviously, duh. But yeah, like products don't sell themselves. Like to an extent they do, but not to the extent that you want it to. You know what I'm saying? So you still have to do a lot of promotions and things of that nature behind it. And this was actually just a recent ad that I launched for this product itself. As you can see, just showing off the two variations of the product. and a model in this product, something clean, targeting our target demographic, and then just add angle of looking for an outfit, right? So boom, and yeah, just creating good content behind it, right? So whether that's through TikTok organic, IG Reels, and then just putting that into your ad account and scaling that up. Now, when it actually comes to figuring out like what makes a good product, right? Like what makes a good product? Like a lot of people ask me that. It really all comes down to it's intuition for the first part. You know what I mean? Like if you have a gut feeling that this product's ass or this product's good, then usually you want to trust your gut, especially once you get more versed and experience with clothes, right? I know for me personally, like when I first dropped my first, zip ups or whatever, I had a design. I swore that bitch was hard, but that shit was ass looking back at it. You feel what I'm saying? But you get that feedback loops or whatever, and you get an eye for like what's good or what's not. You know what I mean? But Eugene Schwartz has a thing where he has 5 layers of market awareness, right, and 5 layers of market sophistication. Now, essentially, these are like different kind of angles and ways you can attack a market when it comes to marketing. Now, when it comes to stage 4 market sophistication, this is essentially when you're in a saturated marketplace, right? And now you can just only compete on, using clothing brand for an example, like better designs, better fit, better quality. And then a stage above that would be stage 5, which would be just sitting on identity, right? So this identity, right, hits a certain persona, right? So people who look like this dude or want to look like this dude are going to buy if they see this ad versus if this was a white dude wearing some Sperry's and some khaki shorts. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like that's stage 5, hitting on more of the identity and the culture behind it. And then stage motherfuckers calling me. Stage 4, right, which is what I was talking about, is that's where your design and your product and your fit, the actual product itself, right, that's where it's gonna do the weight, right? That's where it's gonna hold the weight. So yeah, that's stage 4 market sophistication. You pretty much wanna land at that level. Put my fucking D&D on. Host calling my phone. All right, so once you get that good product and once you nail that, right, then you want to run it up essentially, right? So I'll give you guys the way that you can, hit these 10K days with your brand basically right now. So let's go. Number 1, just testing, right? So if nothing changes, then nothing changes. You know what I mean? So if you want something to change, then you have to implement change. And yeah, essentially what I do is just utilize the scientific method. Now, if you guys ever went to school and actually paid attention in science class, we talked about a scientific method. Basically, you have an observation, hypothesis, and then you basically isolate a variable and then test, have independent variables, dependent variables, test, see the outcome, have that feedback loop, and then basically repeat that process, right? So essentially that's what we're doing for our business, right? And we're going to be launching creatives testing and CRO testing. Now, when I say CRO, that means creative conversion rate optimization. Fuck, my bad. And yeah, that has to do with your website and offers and landing pages and things of that nature. Now, when it comes to creative testing, I like to launch 3 high conviction concepts a week. So what that looks like is, I can show you guys an example. This was a creative concept that I launched, or that I have set to go launch next week, and essentially it is an angle on couples, right? So my hypothesis is a lot of girls want cute hoodies, cute coordinated couple pics and date night fits, but their boyfriends either don't like cheesy his and her stuff, blah blah blah. You feel what I'm saying? So that's my hypothesis, right? And you guys might think this is redundant or this is extra. You don't need all of this, but really like breaking it down and going through all the steps really gets you in that advertiser mode and really break it down from a technical standpoint, and that actually improves your ad hit rate tenfold. You know what I mean? Because I would just, like, in the past, I would just throw shit at the wall and I wouldn't find any winning ads. You know what I mean? So what I would have to test 10x more ads, right? Just because I wasn't putting any hypothesis or any real reasoning behind the ads. Versus this method, you have to test far less ads and your hit rate is higher. You know what I mean? So as you can see, persona here, Then we have our ad angle, matching hoodies as the non corny couple fit for date and night outs. Desire. Then we have our market awareness, problem aware, and then we have our market sophistication. I read a book from Eugene Schwartz called Breakthrough Advertising. It's like a couple $100, but basically in that book it breaks down desires, market awareness, market sophistication, and basically all the ways and angles you can approach those. And that has really elevated my ad creation game up, because there's a lot of psychology behind it, you know what I mean? So you have to invest, the time, energy, and effort and knowledge into actually learning this stuff. But basically I have like different visual concepts that I can, play on for image ideas, and I got some help from ChatGPT on some like unique ideas, right? You want to use some ideas that you have internally and then expand it with ChatGPT. But yeah, then we have some video ideas for reels, and then we also have some scripts, right, that I actually wrote out as well, as you can see here. Yeah, but basically, as you can see, everything's very organized and very, sophisticated in the sense of, okay, I have a strong hypothesis and I'm actually having, an ad being built out based on intention, right? And kind of what that looks like. For example, like I said, you can have like different formats in different ways you can visually showcase this. So like you can have it in videos, text over speech. You can have it, et cetera, different type of formats. But when I'm launching a new ad concept, I like to start with a low barrier to entry. So something simple, just like photos, right? So here's some photos, right? Just showing off in the hoodie, as you can see here, just showing off. Oh, it's a cute hoodie, woody whoop, woody whoop, you know what I'm saying? And then I would have my primary text and my headline copy for my Instagram ads, all correlating to this kind of angle right here, as you can see. Now, building off of that, once I launch my 3 high conviction concepts a week, then I'm launching either 1 to 2 CRO tests a week, or rather just like whenever I can, really, because sometimes some CRO tests take longer than others, right? Because you have to reach statistical significance, right? So you want to reach like ideally like 95% or higher, right? You're never gonna hit a true 100% because there's always gonna be inherently some variance. But this is a recent win that I had just before Black Friday, actually, and it was a landing page test on one of my high traffic sites, or high traffic pages. And as you can see, across the board, just smashed it. 69% uptick in conversion rate, 77% uptick in revenue per visitor, 73% uptake, and 70, what the fuck am I saying, in profit per visitor, and 4% uptick in average order value. And yeah, absolutely smashed it for this landing page, as you can see here. Now every visitor heading to this landing page, is increasing everything by that amount, as you can see. You feel me? As you can see. And yeah, that's the statistical significance. And yeah, just a recent win. Now I'll show you a loss as well that I had. Like I said, if you have like different, if you have like low amount of traffic, right, then it's gonna take a little longer, you know what I'm saying, to reach statistical significance and things of that nature. So it all varies, you know what I mean. But this is a test that didn't win, right? Because you're gonna have tests that don't win, you know what I'm saying. But as you can see, this was another landing page test. Conversion rate got up by 1%, but profit per visitor is down 6%, and the control group beat out the new landing page, as you can see there. So boom. Number 2, just optimizations and feedback loops. So after like you get your after you get your feedback, right, you get your results. Now you just want to take a mental log of that, and also like log that in your sheet. Like, so I have a Google Sheets personally of like all the changes that I do with my business, and I'm actually like looking at the result of those changes, you know what I'm saying? And essentially I'm building those feedback loops to say, okay, now I can have a stronger hypothesis on my next test moving forward, you know what I mean? And essentially that just keeps compounding into more winners, right? So if I know what does well, you know what I'm saying, then I can keep expanding on things like this, because it obviously did well, right? All across the board. And then when I know what doesn't do well, then I will try to avoid things like that, and also like make an observation and a mental note on why it didn't do well and apply that to future learnings and experiments, right? Now, number three is simplicity, right? So when you're doing all this testing, right, it's important that everything is simple and systematized. Like there's little noise, right? Because even in my one-on-one mentorship group where I mentor other clothing brands, a lot of them get scrambled. They have like one bad day and they want to change a whole bunch of things, and it's like you're actually doing more harm than good. You know what I'm saying? So you actually want to keep everything simple, right? You want to launch your creative test, you know what I'm saying, and then launch your CRO test when you can. You know what I mean? Keep it simple, sweet. Don't be like killing and spiking budgets all throughout the week, right? Because you're just going to introduce so much volatility in the ad account, right? Because it's a machine learning algorithm, right? So you want to keep everything very systematized and stable, right? So on X day, you make one change, and then 3 4 days later, you make another change, and then you just kind of repeat that cycle, right? So it's very consistent, right? So I like to limit to 1 to 2 changes per week. So whether that be like launching new ads or killing ads. So what that might look like is, on a Monday, I might kill some ads, right? And then I'll wait 3 to 4 days, log the impact of that. And then on a Thursday, I would launch new ads, right? And then basically go on that cadence per se. You know what I'm saying? So everything's just simple. Simple scales, complex fails. Yes. Yeah. You want to have a well-oiled machine, right? Yeah, and basically once you do that, like once you have the feedback loops, you're constantly testing and you keep everything simple. Like this, not to say that every test is gonna be a winner, right? But once you have this kind of system going that's consistent, it's predictable and scalable, then you can be like, okay, boom, okay, we pumped out a loss, all right, but we have the feedback loops. We're keeping everything simple. We have a stronger hypothesis on the next test. Now you pump out, boom, you pump out a winner, right? So now you're just kind of building on that momentum, and it just kind of rides itself. You know what I mean? And then at the end of the day, you just want to be able to stack wins. You know what I mean? And this kind of like a diagram of the scientific method, like I said earlier. You feel what I'm saying? So, boom, you got your observation. You have a question, hypothesis, experiment, analysis, and conclusion. Analysis, feedback loops, right? Feedback loops, and being able to learn and improve, right? But that's all for this video. My name is Jar. If you guys want to work with me one-on-one, I do have a mentorship group. I'm opening up a few spots soon. But yeah, you can apply down below, and I'll see you in the next video.